Oh, yeah, pipe smokers. Happy Wednesday. Yeah, it's the 14th of May, 2025. Yeah. So, yeah, we're going to have smoke together tonight. And I'm going to try to make it G rated, okay? This is going to be a really good show. Some of you are going to laugh, some of you are going to be like, I want to talk about my 20s. I'm 60 now. I want to talk about 35, 40 years ago, the way Paul the Pipe Guy used to live. And so, yeah, some of you may or may not appreciate it. If you don't want to hear about fast cars and wild women and wild nights, well, don't unsubscribe, just don't watch. So grab your favorite pipe, grab your favorite blend, and grab your favorite beverage. Yeah, so we're smoking the our beautiful Stanwell 1997 pipe of the year. I love this pipe. Very straight grain, very cool smoking pipe. Just a great smoker. And I saved her. I brought her back to life, polished her all up. Yeah. And it's a super smoking pipe. And in that we have it loaded up with Ahab's Comfort from WatchCityCigar.com. And I don't think I've smoked Ahab's Comfort in a little bit here. So, yeah. So let's start something on fire. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So let's start it on fire. And I'll tell you about the wild days. Mm. Oh, man. So, yeah, I got married at 19 years old. And my wife, this was my first wife, I was a young, horny guy. I wanted my wife. And she didn't want to have sex unless we were going to make a baby. I was like, come on. When you're 19, 20, 21, 22 years old, young people like that should be having sex like almost every day. So basically, it turned into, we got married. We had our first child when I was 21. Worked my ass off, saved up, bought a house for us. She was a stay at home mom. And she just didn't want to have sex unless we were going to make a baby. We went to counseling for that and all that stuff. And the counselor, him and his wife were ex-drug addicts. And his wife was gorgeous. The counselor's wife was gorgeous. And he's like, well, Paul, there's a season for everything. And sex isn't important in a marriage. I was like, are you crazy? We'll be right back with that. I got a visitor. Yeah, so that's how the first marriage thing went. I mean, when she wanted a baby, she was on me 3-4 times a day. It was great. As soon as she found out she was pregnant, boom, cut off. She'd have the baby, I'd be cut off for 6 months. So all that wore on me, and then finally she was just like, look, if you want sex, and here I was, 21 years old, married to her for 2 years. If you want sex, go out and get it somewhere else. Just don't bring any diseases or anything home. So that hurt me really bad, because I thought a wife should at least, be with her husband, once a week at 21 years old. I'd be happy. I would have been happy with once or twice a week. Cheers. I let that sink in. Every day I had off, I'd be like, come on, can we mess around? Oh, I've got this list of things for you to do. Come on. I'd finish them up. Well, you didn't get them done in time. My programs are on now. After that, then I'd be like, okay, your programs are over. Okay, now the news is on. I got to watch that. Okay, the news is over. It's 11 o'clock. Oh, no, I'm too tired. Maybe another time. I'd be like, oh. I was dying being 21 years old, so after a few months of that, I was like, well, she did tell me to go ahead as long as I didn't bring any diseases home. And at that young of an age, I was just like, all right, the main thing I wanted to do was keep my family together. But I was also a very naturally horny young man of 21 years old. So I started getting the job lists. There you go. Because I was never able to complete the job list in time. I mean, it would be stuff like, okay, mow the lawn. All right, that's no big deal. All right, clean the garage. No big deal. Sweep the sidewalk and driveway. No big deal. Paint the entire trim of the outside house. Believe it or not, I tried to do that. So yeah, that's the way I went. And finally, the marriage dissolved. It just exploded. And Paul the Pipe Guy went hog wild. Hog wild. Back then in the 80s, we had Miami Vice on. And I used to like expensive, nice clothes and stuff. And I used to like to go out to clubs and all that stuff. Back then in the city of Rochester, all the nightclubs were owned by the mafia. They had dress codes. You couldn't just show up in blue jeans, Levi blue jeans, and a pair of sneakers. They wouldn't let you in. You had to have a button-down shirt. You had to have a suit jacket on, dress pants, dress shoes, if you were a man and you wanted to get in. So I started going out to these clubs, drinking and partying, sniffing things that I shouldn't have been sniffing, that kind of stuff. And all of a sudden I discovered, man, a whole new world. These girls loved me. I was a young, good-looking guy in great, phenomenal shape. I was an athlete. I'm still a good-looking guy, but I'm older. I'm 60 years old now. But if you actually look at my picture now versus when I was about 25, there's not too much of a difference. I'm still in good shape and everything. I still look younger than my age, which is 60 years old, I believe, When I started meeting girls left and right, it was like a kid in a candy store. She'd hand me that job list here. I'd go 6 months without having sex with my wife. Here's your job list. Get that done in time and we can have sex. All right, well, I'm going to go out and get myself a couple packs of Marlboros. I'll be back. And then I'd just go out to the bars, you know. It was crazy. I'm talking fine-looking women, man. With the big hairspray hair, the big hair, the curls, the little leather mini skirts, the fishnet stockings with a line that ran up the back, the low-cut blouse. Man, and they were all in their 20s, and they just wanted one thing. And that was me. Well, I'm not trying to say I was God's gift to women or anything like that, but that's a pretty hot commodity. And women talk, all right? They talk in that bathroom. Oh yeah, he's well endowed. He knows this and he knows that. He knows how to please a woman. Word got around that Paul the Pipe guy was a good catch for the night. I remember, jeez. I remember after I had separated from her, I lived with my parents for about a year, and you know, they had rules, even though I was an adult that owned a house prior to that, and I was 26, 27 years old. They had rules, no drinking, none of this, none of that, and you know, so I'd hook up with girls, and I'd call home. I'd be like, I'm staying at a friend's tonight, you know. So I finally got my place. I moved into my old 9th grade high school. 9th grade was separate from 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, where I went to school. And they had sold it and converted it to 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments. And so on my day off one day, I'm just sitting out smoking a cigarette. There's a bike rack there full of all these bicycles, kids' bicycles, little kids' bicycles, that they were all broken. Flat tires, chains falling off, all that stuff. And this one little boy was trying to ride his bike. The chain kept coming up. So I fixed it. And he went and told his mom that I fixed it. And all of a sudden there was a knock on my apartment door. She's like, "Are you the guy that fixed my son's bike?" I said, "Yeah." She's like, "Oh, thank you so much." And this girl was smoking hot. She's like, "Well, to reward you, I'd like to have you over for dinner." So I went to little Johnny's mom's house, and the 3 of us, he's probably 4 or 5 years old, and his mom was probably in her mid-20s, gorgeous. She made me a wonderful dinner. They were all Italian girls there. I couldn't understand what that was all about, but I eventually found out. So after she made me dinner, she's like, "You want to stick around? I'm going to put my son to bed." And then one thing led to another, and well, I don't need to tell you any more than that. I fixed Mama's chain on her bike. Well, all these Italian girls talked. I didn't realize it at the time, but basically, anytime a mafia associate or a male a mafia maid guy went through a divorce, they would send their wives to this place where I lived. So it was full of women with kids. So I'd get these requests from women, hey, my son's bike needs fixed, here's what's wrong, patch a tire tube or whatever, get the thing rolling again like brand new. And then they'd have me over for dinner and put the little boy to bed, and well, I'd fix them too. And there got to be where there was about 5 different women that were making me dinners every week and then fucking the shit out of me. It's all okay till I went to the local bar and they were like, yeah, that's the guy right there. Well, out of 5 girls, 2 of them were pissed off as fuck. They even came up to me, how could you do that? I was like, look, I came over for dinner, but what do you want from? I'm not dating any of you. We're just all having fun. The other 3, they just didn't care. They just wanted me to come over and take care of them. So it was all good, Shit, I remember one time, one of the girls, she lived down the hallway from me, came home with this girl I was dating, and she heard her giggle or whatever. It's like 2:30 in the morning, and this girl's like taking care of me, if you know what I mean. And my phone rings, and it's my neighbor from down the hall. She was a beautiful Italian girl too. She's like, hi, Paul. What are you doing? And I says, well, I'm getting a blowjob right now. Oh. I won't tell you how that conversation went because it's just too graphic. Well, I finished, and then the girl that was doing the blowing was pissed off. And she stormed out, and this girl, I'm still talking to her on the phone. She said, well, come on down and see me. Now it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. Go down and see her. And I was so virile at that time, I was able to take care of her too. Those were the wild days. And these are the things that you guys, I warned you up front, that if you don't want to hear about my wild times, just don't watch. I don't live my life like that no more. Oh yeah, so we're going to graduate to a cigarette. So in my 2-bedroom apartment, I had my Harley Davidson motorcycle in my living room. There was no way I was going to leave that beautiful machine out in the parking lot. And the pizza delivery guy was like, man, how'd you get that up here? I was like, well, I just rode it up the stairs. I didn't ride it up the stairs. He didn't know. The place actually had an elevator, but on occasions, I would go out. I'd come home hammered. I'd fire the motorcycle up in my living room, open my front door, and ride it down the hallway. And you know how old high schools have like those granite type of floors with it like 3x3 foot tiles? I'd do burnouts all down the hallway. And this thing was loud as fuck. All right, so everyone knew. Well, just so happened to be that the Italian lawyer that owned the place, his daughter lived right next to me, and she managed the place. She was a cute little girl, a little younger than me. And I remember one time I came home like 2:30 in the morning doing burnout smoke shows right in the hallway of the apartment building. Okay, I'm on the 3rd floor. Next morning, she hears me go to leave for work. She opens up the door. Hi, Paul. Did you have a little fun last night? I was like, what do you mean? I didn't remember. She's like, see all them skid marks down the hallway? Oh. Yeah, you were riding your Harley motorcycle up and down the hallway going Yahoo and doing burnouts and all kinds of stuff. Pissed off almost the whole building. You think you can clean that up? She's trying not to laugh. She was laughing. Yeah, I'll take care of it when I get home from work. And I'd get out some scrubbies and clean it all up and take the burnt rubber off of the granite floor. And they never threw me out because I was over a year ahead on my rent. I was so afraid to lose my home that every extra money I had went, I'd drive it over, give him cash right to the attorney. One day he comes out, he's like, hey man, or he's like, hey Mr. Gilson, I don't know if you realize it or not, but you're over a year ahead on your rent. Why is that? He says, well, I got divorced from my last wife, lost my house, lost everything, and I don't want to lose this apartment. He's like, we've never had anybody be a year ahead on their rent. You're like the best tenant we have. With the exception of some wild stories I've heard about your motorcycle. Oh no, I took care of that problem. No, won't happen again. They never threw me out or asked me to leave, any of that stuff. That little girl liked me. I should have really dated her. She was a nice little Italian girl, cute as a button. I should have dated her. Probably should have married her, you know. Another story, I was out at a bar, and me and my buddy, and I had a 1993 Dodge Stealth. 6-cylinder car, stick shift. That was a sports car, and it was fast. I mean, real fast. Fucking speedometer went up to 150 on that thing. So I remember shooting pool with them at this bar. They had a rock and roll side and then a disco side. Next day we go to work, and it's like, man, where'd you learn how to drive like that? What are you talking about? He says, you were doing 135 miles an hour through traffic in a 35 zone, weaving in and out of cars. Where'd you learn to drive like that? And I was just like, what? I could have killed a bunch of people. It scared me, the bejesus out of me. He's like, yeah, and you pissed everybody off, because when I used to drink, I could run a pool table all night long. Nobody could beat me. Anyways, sum the story up. After I settled down, married my second wife and so forth, we started this family business, and we got our 2 trucks, and we're fueling them up, and they got signs on them and stuff like that. And, one of my old partying buddies sees me and my dad, together, sees 2 trucks with the signs on them. I go in to pay for the fuel, and I come out, and he's like, hey, this guy came up to me and says, is that Paul Gilson? He says, yeah. My father's like, yeah, that's my son. Well, he thought my father would be impressed with this information. And my father was an ordained minister. He's like, I never met a guy like Paul Gilson in my life. That guy could drink more beer and fuck more women than I've ever seen in my life. And my dad was like, yeah, that would have been Paul. He's married and settled down now. Anyways, I'm Paul the Pipe Guy. Thanks for watching. Those are some of my wild days. I have many stories like that, but we won't go here again. Yeah, over and out.